But in honor of Papa Shasky, we are going to ask everybody out there, 888-957-9570. And I'm seeing some calls here. I know some people want to talk Warriors or Lakers. We'll do that. But who's the guy? Who's the girl who got you hooked on the sports? Who's that person? Could be your grandma. Could be your great-grandma. Could be your grandpa. Could be your auntie. FP, who's that guy? In honor of Papa Shasky, because we know how he led Joe Shasky, the Butcher, to be the sports fanatic. Coached him in all his Little League games. Was at every game. Played softball with him. Golf with him. Came to our golf event over there at the Berkeley Country Club. Love Papa Shasky. He was a big part of this show. Who's the person who got you involved in sports, FP? Who got you hooked with the bat in your hands or a basketball? Who got you hooked into sports?
I mean, the obvious answer is my dad, who was a football coach in Sacramento for 40 years. And I grew up going to his practices. I was the ball boy on the sidelines with the jersey that was way too big, and I'd run out the ball to the officials when I was 7, 8 years old. And
that's cool.
Our weeks revolved around Friday night. You know, Friday Night Lights?
Yep.
If Dad won on Friday night, we had a good weekend. If he lost on Friday night, we just steered clear.
Right.
And he would just sit in a room and watch film all day and try to break down the game. So that's the obvious answer. But like, my mom was at everything. She took me to everything. She was so supportive. She kept score at baseball games. She was at every one of my soccer games in Catholic school. She was at every one of my games, and she had to juggle between Dad's games and my games. So when you talk about the effort my mom made, she made that possible too. So I can't just say it was all my dad. But my grandfather is the one that started the whole baseball thing in Brooklyn, playing on back fields. And just pickup games, sandlot games. And he had a love for baseball that he passed to my dad, which the sports thing passed to me. Right. So I would say a combination of those three.
Wow.
And the support of my mom. So my dad got me hooked on sports. My dad was like, he never forced it down my throat. He said, you go out and practice, you go out and shoot, you go out and run.
You gravitated towards it.
He's just like, hey, you want to go take some BP? And we'd have a bucket of balls. And he would throw me batting practice. You want to take some grounders? You want to go play catch?
Wow.
You want to go shoot hoops in the backyard? We played one-on-one basketball. I remember the first time I used to come in the house crying because he used to beat me all the time. He never let me win. And then when I was like 14, I beat him once. I came running through the house. I finally beat him. And my mom would say, "You guys are too competitive. You come in crying, and he comes in talking smack. But they just got to stop." But like, so the long answer is those three: my dad's dad, my father, and my mom. Combination platter.
Wow. What about you, Lubman? Who got you hooked on the sports?
Oh, no, for me, it was my dad, Jim Lubman. He played the biggest role, if not the only big role, in getting me into sports. He was taking me to Warrior games when I was like 5, 6 years old. When, my favorite player as a kid was always, Mookie Blaylock and Muggsy Bogues, because I love saying their names, when I was 5 years old. I was like, when Mookie scored, the PA guy would go, Mookie Blaylock. I love that. So he got me, and they took me to my first Giants game, June 17th, 2000, against the Astros. First day after first grade, he took my first game, and he took me to a lot of games the next year when Bonds did his thing, hitting 73 home runs, and I was hooked at that. And but it was just basketball, it was just baseball, it was football too. We watched a lot of Cal football together. Obviously, he went to Cal, and all these things had big impacts in my life, especially the Cal football part, because as I've said before on the show, our love of Cal football, it made us go to that Emerald Bowl between Cal and Miami, which is what got me interested in going to Miami. And so it's goes without saying, him introducing me to sports, the influence he had and my love for it, it is the biggest reason why I am here right now. Yeah. I love sports so much. I was never great at playing them, so the next best thing I could do is talk about them. Yep. And he got me into that, and so his influence is present on me every day of my life. My love of Giants baseball, my love of sports, how hard I try to work at this job. He instilled that ethic into me as well. Yep. And so, it's all on him. I put it to him.
That's beautiful. And we're doing this, we're talking about this because Joe Shasky, Papa Shasky, as we refer to him on the show over and over, passed away at the age of 66 Tuesday morning, unfortunately. And we know how close Joe was, the Butcher, to his dad, Papa Shasky. Grew his love of sports, no doubt. And I want to honor him. So we're going to take some calls, man. We're going to talk Warriors or Lakers, no doubt. Warriors are rolling right now. But my Uncle Dexter was the guy who got me hooked into sports. So as my dad and my uncles on that side of the family were out doing whatever they were doing, my Uncle Dexter would have me in a diaper, no pants on, just a straight diaper and a T-shirt with some dry cereal, watching Lakers Pistons, watching horse racing, watching boxing. And so my Uncle Dexter, who later on passed it to who I call my Uncle Mitch, when I used to knock on the door of my neighbor, "Hey, it's Bonte." I would say it so long and slow, and they'd be like, "Who is it?" "It's Bonte," right? That's how you should answer the door. They all laugh and stuff. but I was the only kid who could watch games with the OGs. I'd sit on the floor. The OGs are doing what they're doing. The kids be in the other room. But I was the only kid who was allowed in there because it's like, this guy loves sports. We're going to let him watch with us or whatnot, whatever it was. So there's a bunch of influences, but the first influence for me was my Uncle Dexter. He's a sports fanatic. Every time we see each other, doesn't matter if it's in the hospital, whether it's at a funeral, whether it's at a repast, whether it's at a birthday party, we lock eyes and we start chirping. And they were chirping about the Giants and Niners and the Lakers like it was like I was 5 years old all over again. So we all have that one person in our lives who got us hooked on the sports. I see some texts here. Khalil King, he goes, my grandma's a fanatic. She got me involved in sports. So let's go to the Lions, FP. Let's go to Drew in Oakland. Who's that person who got him hooked into sports as we talk Warriors and Lakers and honor Papa Shasky today?
Hey, good morning, fellas. Long-time listener, first-time caller, so thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was my grandfather, Charles Houston. He influenced me for my level of sports. Like many African-Americans who immigrated from the South over to Oakland and the West, he loved baseball, and he lived a couple miles from the Oakland Coliseum, so we would go to the A's games and watch the Bash Brothers during those glory years, and so he really influenced me to my level of sports. He passed away in 2008, and I'm kind of getting emotional because every time I would go to his house, he would say, what team you got? And he would always have a football, baseball, or basketball game on. And now I do that same thing with my son, and like that tradition goes on. Every time a game's on, I say to my son, who's 4 years old, I say, what team you got, you know? And it's just like our tradition now to say that. So, yeah, again, I'll take the rest offline, but, shout out to Papa Shasky, RIP, and all the families who keep the sports traditions alive in their families.
Good call, Drew. Way to stay strong there, Drew. Good call, good call. And I know Papa Shasky's looking down at the Warriors right now, thinking that's the team that we grew to love. The ball movement, Steph Curry being special, team defense, communication. I don't know if you heard from Darvin Ham last night, FP, but after the game he goes, Anthony Davis lost his voice, which is why we struggled defensively because he wasn't able to talk and communicate. That's a real quote.
Wow.
Yeah, so there you go. Papa Shasky wouldn't go for that excuse.
Yeah, wow, is all I can say to that. Let me ask you something, Bonte. Was there a moment for you where it kind of all came together with your uncle where you knew I love sports? Like one moment that you can remember, like all of a sudden you're like, at a very young age, you're like, wow, this sports thing is cool.
Yeah, I think I was in the room with my grandmother. It was the 89 Giants, first baseball team I grew to love. You know, Kevin Mitchell, Will Clark, Matt Williams, Kurt Mayweather. You had Steve Barosian in the back end. I mean, Rick Ruskell. I mean, you had legends there, right? And I remember they were playing a series against the Dodgers, the Clits at NL West, and they had lost, I think, their first 2 or 3 games of the series. And I was irate. I was crying. I was living and dying on every single out. And I was 7 years old. And my grandma's like, dude, you win some, you lose some. Chill out, dude. Like, she's like, chill out. She's all cool, calm, cool, and collected, doing her puzzles or whatnot, 1,500-piece puzzles and everything. And I'm sitting there banging the table as a 7-year-old. Come on, Giants. Damn it, let's go. Like, I didn't understand. I thought you could win every single game. And maybe it was that moment where I was just like, this is what I want to do. Because every time I left the house, we'd go to Walgreens around the corner. We'd shoplift a wiffle ball bat and a wiffle ball.
Come on, dude.
We didn't have the money.
Wiffle ball's the best.
Wiffle ball. And we play baseball all day long. We count our home runs. We make the cars the bases. The vehicles that was in the parking lot, the van was first base. The Toyota Camry was second base and whatnot. And then we play football. We play basketball. We do all this stuff. But that moment, thinking back to those games, and obviously the Niners had something to do with that as well, but I just remember that vividly was like, oh, I can't live without sports. I need it. And when I used to get out punishment, you know, because I was a bad little kid, but my mom would be like,
yeah, you're shoplifting.
Yeah, as a 7-year-old, right? I remember I got caught doing that. Anyway, statute of limitations, right? We were all good.
I'm thinking about 7-year-old Bonte swearing while watching the Giants lose, though. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I know. I got popped in the mouth for that, too. But listen, but no, seriously, like that, when my mom would put me on punishment or whatnot, that grew my love for newspapers. She's like, you ain't watching, so you got to read about it. I'd have that sporting read every single day. Every single day. I'd linger around the newspaper stand, waiting for somebody to buy a paper, and I grabbed one right after them. As a kid, you know, I was terrible, right? I would go to people's doorstep. I saw a Chronicle. I'd snatch that bad boy. Sorry to all the people I stole newspapers from. The Examiner, whatever it was, I had to read every single stat. I would read that thing forward to backwards. And so as a 7-year-old, I knew, oh, I've got a sickness, and this is what I want to do. Now, if I don't play it, how do I cover it? And I've been blessed enough to be on these airways and be on television covering the sport I love, doing what I would do if I wasn't working in sports, which is talk about sports. But as a 7-year-old FP, I was like, damn, I can't live without it. I knew what every first pitch was, what every tip-off was, what every kickoff was. I would be locked and loaded for that intro on KTVU when Giants baseball would come on. I had to be there. I had to. I couldn't miss a game. I've lost jobs over games. Florida State, Florida played early 2000s. I was working in the kitchen on Hayton Fillmore. It was this restaurant, Korean restaurant. I was supposed to do the dishes one night. Florida State's playing Florida. I'm 18 years old, FP. 1 versus 2. I'm not going into work. I'm not missing this game. And those guys came to my house, and I'm like peeking out the window like, oh, my God, they just came to my house. I stood up the job. But that's how much I loved it. And that love hasn't dissipated whatsoever. So that's a long-winded version of me saying
dude,
that.
that's a great
that
story. See, that's the stuff I want to hear. I want to hear, like, the moment you knew.
The moment. Oh,
it's cool. Like, this is a great tribute to Papa Shasky. I love it. And the person that was most influential. But there's always, like, that moment where you're just like, this is great. Like, wait, what?
Was that moment for you on the sideline with your dad coaching?
No, it was my first ever baseball game at Tiger Stadium. And I'll never forget it. I was 6 years old. My dad took me to a Tigers game. And if you remember Tiger Stadium, in left field, they had the upper deck and it hung over a little bit. So we were there early for batting practice. And I was watching 2 Tigers play catch in their white uniforms with the blue piping on the side and the old classic English D.
Oh, that's so sick.
And we were just watching them play catch, and we were leaning over. We didn't say a word. Like, you go to a game now, it's like, give me a ball, give me a bat. We were just sitting there, and we were watching him play catch. And one of the guys kept looking up at my dad and I, and he would throw another throw, and he'd looking up at my dad and I, throw another throw. I'm 6 years old, dude. So I'm asking my dad, like, oh my God, there's grass in the middle of a city. There's a park right in the middle of a city. These guys are playing baseball on the grass in the middle of the city, and they get paid to play baseball on that grass in the middle of a city. And the grass was so green. I remember walking through the tunnel. It's like a movie. So they got done playing catch, and one of the guys threw the ball up, and my dad caught it. And it was a pitcher named John Hiller, a relief pitcher. I caught the baseball, or my dad caught the baseball, handed it to me, and that's the day I knew I wanted to play baseball for a living.
Wow.
And I knew right then and there that I wanted to be a big league baseball player.
That's amazing.
And I told this story once on the air, and John Hiller got wind of it. He was a pitcher that had a heart attack, that came back from a heart attack and played in the major leagues.
Wow.
And had a great career after that. And so he heard that story, and through the grapevine, So that's the day that I knew. That's
amazing.
And I was a Tiger fan until we moved to California. I became a Giants fan. I was a Tiger fan growing up.
Tiger Stadium. When Reggie Jackson hit the roof in the All-Star game. Wow, that's amazing. That's beautiful right there. As you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Don't forget, you can also watch us every single day on our YouTube and Twitch streams. Just log on and search 95.7 The Game. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel while you are there. Brought to you by First NorCal Credit Union. Upgrade your savings dividend. Open a First NorCal first-class money market today. And shout out to the Comcast Business Text line. What's the moment you love sports? I love that. As we honor Papa Shasky today. He left this world a couple days ago. At the age of 66, but his legacy will live on, especially on this show. Let's go to Tamir, my man Tamir in Oakland, man. Long time no talk. What up, Tamir?
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
For me, it's also like Joe. My dad passed away last year, so I kind of know the emotions and stuff is there. But it was him when I'm younger. Me and my brothers growing up playing. He played baseball. So I got into baseball first, but then just seeing the love that he has for sports all around. We don't root for the same teams. He's a Niner and, Giants fan, and I'm Oakland and the Raiders and stuff, so we bumped heads on that. But other than that, he got me into sports, and that's the reason why I coach basketball to this day, to just help, the Oakland area or Hayward area where I grow up at, just make sure kids always get to find that love for the game of sports. So I got that from him. So,
that's awesome.
And RIP to Papa Shasky as well. Too.
Yep, absolutely. That's a good story, Tamir. Good story. Let's go to Big Smooth in Oakland. Big Smooth, what's happening? You're on the roast.
Hey, man, you know what? I was going to talk about the Warriors.
Yeah, go ahead. Get the Warriors in. We're still talking Warriors and Lakers. We can never talk enough about that.
Bonte, let me just say this, man. First of all, condolences to the Shasky family.
Yep.
I know how it feels to lose your dad, so I want to say condolences. And you know what? On the topic, let me say this, man. It was Howard Cosell for me.
Wow.
It was Howard Cosell. He just made everything seem like it was just the best thing ever. You remember the old Monday Night Football highlights?
Wow.
You remember that? You remember that music? and it made you want to run one back from the 1 yard line and go all the way to the house. Howard Cosell is the one who was calling the shots when Muhammad Ali was doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was just Cosell. I wanted to be a part of what he was talking about, and it made sports seem so great. I remember my grandmother took me to a Giants game. It was the Giants when Willie McCovey got traded to the Padres, and the Giants were playing the Padres. I'll never forget this. A guy named Nate Colbert hit 3 bombers that day, and I ended up playing college basketball, but baseball was the first sport that I fell in love with. But anyway, man, the Warriors are dynamic, man. They look like they found their identity. Two-way Wiggs is back. My goodness, this team is deep. Man, I knew that they were going to run the Lakers out. You could tell at the onset. They had that twinkle in their eyes. And I want to say big props to Steve Kerr, who had to stand here, take all these questions when it looked like everything was falling apart, when everybody was dancing on the grave of the Warriors. Well, guess what? They're back. And those
Big Smooth.
that detracted, those that detracted and said, I'll never watch another game because of Draymond Green. I bet you're watching, and I bet you're popping popcorn right now, baby. I just want to say welcome back. Dubs. Blessings, and I'm out.
Big Smooth coming in strong. Dub Nation, we got a break here. What's the moment you knew you loved sports? What's that moment for you? 888-957-9570 as we continue to talk about that in honor of Papa Shasky, plus Warriors rolling over the Lakers. You heard Big Smooth. He believes the Dubs are back. Look, there's 28 games left. I'm not going to go that far, but I like what I see as they've won 9 of 11. They've won 5 straight on the road. The form matters. The eye test. They look like they're performing at a high level. They've been one of the better teams in February. Let's see if they can continue that tonight against Charlotte. Stack wins, and then you get a big one on Sunday. That's the game you need to go to Sunday. Get some Denver Nuggets. The champs are in town.
Let's go. Bring them on.
MP.
Bring everybody on right
MP.
now.
I better see you there Sunday. I better see you tonight and Sunday.